So this segment we're going to be discussing Labour cooked on energy again. This is about energy, infrastructure and kind of generation, and their arguments are pretty bad here. The fact that they don't really have much in terms of planning for taking us off fossil fuels.
We need to accelerate the growth towards renewable energy. If you look at the 2024, according to the CBI, the growth in the net zero sector was 10%. That's the kind of growth rate that we need across our entire economy, but we're seeing it in the renewable energy sector.
So how do you encourage companies to do it then? You've got BP, who are reining back on renewables, as we said. You've got
a rare Fiona Bruce fact check there, and even BBC Verified got an article out about this, which we'll be discussing. There are also problems with connectivity, like I've covered previously in a video where we're essentially spending loads of money on wind farms that aren't connected to anything. So they could generate loads of energy for us, but because they're not connected properly to the grid, it does nothing. And we're paying them just to do nothing effectively.
Another company, Equinor, has done the same. Shell, they've also reined back on it. There's clearly, whatever's happening, and maybe this is something that the government cannot do anything about, but they certainly don't seem to be encouraged to move in that direction.
Well, we're making steps already. We've removed the Conservative ban on onshore wind. We've seen £34 billion worth of investment since we came to office in July last year in renewable energy. We've signed off more renewable energy schemes, and we need to deliver that at pace and go faster. Because
But you pulled back from the key pledges, and we'll discuss that at the end of the clip. But you pulled back from the key investments, and as Fiona Bruce pointed out, the private industry are not putting the investment up that you guys thought they were going to do.
Ultimately, if we want to escape the high prices of gas that is set by the global markets and the instability that comes with those high prices, we know the huge cost of Putin's invasion in Ukraine on our energy bills. And
we also know Ofgem isn't fit for business, and it doesn't do its job properly. But you're not ready to have that conversation, are you, big dog?
Huge increase from that. We've got to wean ourselves off the reliance of gas, and to do that, we've got to massively expand our renewable energy. And that's why it's one of our 5 missions as government.
How do you get these companies to do it then?
Well, we're seeing investment coming in, so we need investments from big companies, certainly.
I mean, they're cutting back investment, so how are you going to get them to increase their investment in renewables?
Well, I think we've got to make it more attractive. That's what we are doing by removing some of the regulation that blocks onshore wind.
And the thing that I do want to know is why even the small commitments that you have made, for instance, in relation to heat pumps, you said you double what the previous government were going to be putting into that scheme. And we are nearly a year in, and there isn't even any talk of spending allocation. There's no spending review in terms of where that money is going to come from, when it's going to come. And so when you talk about being a government that is bold and that is going to hit the ground running, where's the action?
Which is this the key point here. Labour are like the Conservatives in the sense of a lot of it is all talk, it's all razzle dazzle. There's no policy fundamentals. Like when we look at this, right, it's the 28 billion. So Labour has announced it will no longer spend 28 billion on environmental projects if it wins the upcoming general election. So this is something I believe I covered at the time about the green energy. So you got Fiona Bruce talking about the private sector pulling back from this. So the question is, where's the money going to come from to invest if the private sector are not going to do it and the public sector won't? We've talked previously about how GB Energy is potentially just a massive slush fund for private industry. Something No Justice has talked about a lot, and I think that's something I've talked about a little bit in terms of we don't know what it's going to be. Starmer said it's an investment vehicle, then we find out it's going to be an actual energy generating company. How we're going to use it to cut bills, I don't know. Are we going to sell off the energy and then give that money to people like they do in Alaska, for example? I genuinely have no idea what they're doing, and the reason why they have no idea what they're doing is because they set up the stupid fiscal rules, and because I think this person here, the woman who told Labour it didn't need to spend 28 billion on green investment. So Rhian Murray Thomas, the head of Green Finance Institute, suggested to Rachel Reeves the private sector could offset state funding at the start of this year. Among the snowy Swiss slopes of the Davos business get-together, Rhian Murray Thomas was ready to make an elevator pitch to the UK's future Chancellor. So she effectively told the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, or the then Shadow Chancellor, that private industry will invest the money into green energy. The government doesn't have to do it. She told the then Shadow Chancellor that Labour needed the finance industry in the room to actually identify what exactly the obstacles are and where the government can be most impactful. Not longer after the 28 billion pledge has been cut in half, as soon as Thomas was chairing Labour's National Wealth Fund task force. So it's clear that you have someone who works within the industry who convinced Labour this was a bad idea, right, to essentially pull back. It was a professional coup, a vindication of Thomas' decision in 2018 to leave banking for a role more aligned with her green roots. So essentially, she became a lobbyist for, companies to invest in green technology, and they're the ones that are going to make, get the benefit of these green technologies and of this infrastructure. So what you have here is a situation where the government pulled out based on the advice of someone who they really shouldn't have done. They took their money out, basically, and now you have a situation where the private industry aren't putting the money in. So in terms of Labour can talk about the problems with the reliance on gas and things like that, but unless you're going to actually generate the energy and either use that to lower UK prices and stop us going off the spot price margin or whatever that nonsense is, where we pay for the highest price for the energy generated, or if you don't reform that, you need to figure something else out here, because whatever they're doing is not working. And the fact that heat pumps, I've seen a bit of middling information about how effective they are, but if heat pumps are the way the government wants to go, then it's time to put the money up so people can actually get them. It's ridiculous to talk about all of these big and bold ideas if you're not going to put basic policies in place, like my good fellow points out here. It's just embarrassing. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.